I'm gonna make a very bold claim, and maybe many will agree, maybe some will disagree, or maybe many will disagree. But I truly believe that Ibarra is not only the greatest Dr. Stone antagonist villain we might ever see in this show. I mean, I look forward to potentially meeting characters who will rival him for me. But in terms of this year for anime, I actually will put him up there as one of the all-time bests of this year for just pure shock, fear, and thrill. The character design alone is brilliant. He's a freaky dude. Like, in general, you don't want this dude creeping up behind you in a dark alley. And half the time he's making these faces or these, I mean, I don't even know what the hell happened to Yo. He was like a venomous guppy just waiting to petrify him. But the fact that an episode like this might be the most helpless and hopeless Dr. Stone has ever felt, which there might be some people who say, what about the beginning of the show when literally the entire world turned to stone? That is really bad. And I think up to this point, I would put that as the biggest and most shocking moment. But the idea that Senku and the gang have come so close to rebuilding what has been lost, and they're speeding through things in ways that in one lifetime they might be able to get back into a very similar situation. The fact that it almost all went up in smoke is more frightening than the first time it happens, because I think you collectively think there's nothing that can happen. They're screwed. Ignoring the idea that it's an anime, that is something that just, it's done. But now knowing that it could all be ripped away a second time, if not more, it's terrifying, but that's what made it such a good episode. Now, of course, I do have a full live reaction to today's insanely good, I would personally say maybe even my favorite episode of Dr. Stone. There's definitely emotional ones, don't get it twisted, but I really liked what they did. But full live reaction over on my Patreon if you would like to see that. It's over there if you're interested. Now, I mean, Ibarra finding ways to keep up the ante makes sense. I didn't think he would be able to say it from a distance. Like, we now know it's voice command, right? And Senku, based on the end of the episode, we know it can't just be a recording either. Which, if it was, I mean, there's a lot of ways for things to go very wrong for any of our characters. But the idea that he jumped down and basically just does a small miniature bomb so that he could then get the Medusa back makes sense, and it completely works. It was a good play overall. The thing is as good of plays he might have had, I think there is some sloppiness about his idea. So he knows that people can be revived after being turned to stone, right? He looks at Senku as having some magical potions, and as he says, you know, if he needs more, then he'll just bring Senku back and force him to do it. But here's the thing. I mean, you petrified the whole island. Had Senku actually been turned to stone, it's entirely likely he would have never found the revival juice or figured out what to do, and he would have been left on that island alone. And he's crazy enough, and he's sick enough, that for a bit he probably would enjoy it. But he's not the type of dude who's going to make his own dinner. He's not the type of dude who's going to be able to just talk with himself and be okay. He's already a few screws loose, and he's wobbly, he's tipsy. You leave him alone on an island for a couple of days, if not a week, the dude's banging his head against a tree and making friends with a coconut. He didn't think that one through. The way Senku and gang got Senku to be able to survive, I had no idea what was happening. I did not see that coming in the slightest. One of the most ride or die moments we've seen. The idea of striking the exact same pose and making a line so that as the beam is coming and hitting everyone, Senku would be able to be saved, because you're not outrunning, what, 2,000 meters or something like that was the overall radius of the blast. Insanity, forcing the Medusa into someone who has such loyalty for you and making him think that his safety is running to the middle of the island when in fact what you're doing is sending the bomb to go off and turning literally everyone to stone. The heartbreak in this man's eyes said it all, and all I can do is hope that when Senku wins, we turn this man to stone, fix the man who ended up getting stomped on so he could have the Medusa back, and he can do the same thing to Ibarra. I think Ibarra is the best villain, the best antagonist we've seen, potentially ever will see in Dr. Stone. But no matter what, I think he deserves to get stomped on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There was a lot of fun moments prior to things really popping off. I think seeing Hyoga just... I kind of forgot about his fighting style, so at first when he was huffing and puffing, I was like, oh man, you know, I guess he just doesn't have the same type of endurance as Maz. But the idea of needing that bamboo shoot in order to be able to do the spinning maneuvers, and as we see, it completely turned the tides. The idea that as he's fighting for his life, Senku and the gang are basically making him the secret weapon to the weapons. We have the golden spear, that's great, it's a great weapon. but it doesn't have the fighting abilities that he's looking for until that moment. And we see the man go from thinking he's wiping the floor to almost calling out mommy because he realizes that Senku in the kingdom of science is completely shitting on him. The thing that's really nice about the idea, though, that the voice commands don't work through the radio, that's nice because, one, we get to now see Ibara versus Senku, which is going to be nuts. It's literally science versus the Medusa, and I'm interested to see how he'll do it because ultimately he could make like a command like, 500 or 1 meter, 0.5 seconds and whip that thing at Senku and he's turning to stone. But Senku's going to be able to avoid that, and he's not going to risk giving up the Medusa because if he does, he has no power or leverage. And Senku clearly knows how it works. He's made it very clear about that. He had a theory that maybe he could get it through a recording, but now knowing that doesn't work, Ibara is not going to be an idiot here. It's going to be interesting because Senku can revive everyone. He absolutely can. He can do this. But we came so close to losing the man because while yes, he kept his mind active for so long and it broke through, it almost was gone. It almost all went up in smokes, and that's such a terrifying feeling to be so deep into Dr. Stone and have the same thing that ruined the world the first time almost do it a second time, even if it wasn't the same blast radius. Losing Senku and losing this crew and turning them to stone, while yes, the other people back home would be okay in the way that they have a pretty nice setup, humanity isn't progressing anytime soon, if ever again. And it's just like, it's such a powerful moment, and I think that's why it makes it my favorite Dr. Stone episode. I think the backstory stuff with Senku's father, I think still is the most emotional and whatnot, but I really liked what they did. This is an absolutely incredible show. I constantly say it's criminally underrated, criminally underappreciated, undervalued, and I think episodes like these flex that Dr. Stone also has a really good production style when it counts. Like in general, I like looking at the show, but when you look at the blast kind of like sweeping over, like that is an enhancement on a manga. No one's going to tell me otherwise. The way they're able to get across that apocalypse level blast and the music, man, I think Dr. Stone probably has one of the most criminally underappreciated OSTs. There's soundtracks that will pop up in this show, and I swear you could put them over a One Piece anime episode, and people are going to assume it's a One Piece OST. And I say that with nothing but compliments. One Piece has fire OST, fire music in general. And at other points, I'm just jamming. I'm like, what is this vibe that they're going? It's just, I'm baffled that more people don't call Dr. Stone a masterpiece. I was pretty much there at the end of season 1, but with each passing season and episode, I'm just like, where the hell is everyone? Do you see this? Like, that's basically my reaction, but let me know what you thought, because I thought this was fucking fantastic. I'm gonna put it simply as that. Thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you get notified when I upload more videos. Channel, like I mentioned, we have that full live reaction over on my Patreon. And hey, while there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Count Viscount, Philos, Ciaris, Ryuki, Isaac Farnsworth, and Zuda. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.